What's up, fellow Shadow Priests? Today we are talking about advice against Turbo Cleave. This is the most frustrating comp to play against as a Shadow Priest. Historically, it's been a really strong counter to Shadow Priest. It's hard to make good use of RCC. They have 20 stops for mind games, and the Enhance can heal for more than your own healer, so it's a little stressful. I hope that these tips will at least push you in the right direction to sometimes sneak a win off of Turbo. It's not like you're going to farm it all the time, but in my mind, if I can win, 1 or 2 out of 5 games against Turbo Cleave, then my rating will continue to go up. And we've been queuing to Turbo nonstop for like the last week, and we figured out at least how to survive long enough to make the other healer go And if you can really focus on surviving and reacting to their cooldowns, you can potentially set up a kill and capitalize on their mistakes. So the first thing I want to talk about, my talents. I'm going to play Driven to Madness and Lasting Plague every game. You need to do as much damage as humanly possible. Driven to Madness is going to allow you to get more casts off. As you saw in the opener there, I just got pummeled by the warrior, but I casted Void Form right away. I'm in Void Form, so all I want to do is make really good use of my globals and Void Bolt off cooldown. We also want to talk about this cooldown right here, Doom Wins. I'm tracking this with Tell Me When, and I also have an Omnibar code for it as well now. It's a 1 minute internal cooldown, and it basically enhances their Wind Fury totem and makes them do godlike unhealable damage, and it's just a series of small Wind Fury attacks over and over again. We actually figured out that Shaman's Earthen Wall completely counters this. Not completely, but Shaman's Earthen Wall makes it so that you take far less damage while you have so while they have Doom Winds up. It's going to absorb, like 300 or so of every hit, and 300 of a hit that's like 1200 is actually quite a lot when it's hitting you for like 20 times. So we figured out that Earthen is really good against Doom Winds. If you're not playing with the rest of Shaman, another strategy we've employed is to have, if you're playing with Warrior, you have the Warrior disarm every Doom Winds, and it's just like a script. Every time you see Doom Winds, you disarm. Or if you're playing with another class, you can, do whatever CC they have. It's a Boomkin, you can Cyclone. DH has a Cage. Like, there's a ton of instant CCs you can do to just stop their pressure. And if you can CC them on their offensive cooldowns, there's a good chance that you can save your Disperse. So I did use Fade in the opener on the Warrior Spear and the Doom Winds, and that's okay. I think it's better to Fade first rather than to Disperse if you're at high HP. And then the next thing we're looking to do is just max damage. So every single global I do is mostly going to be instant cast. Like, I shot my Shadow Crash, Shadow Fiend, and now I'm just going to kite away, and I'll do some little Mind Flays while I'm far away from them, because I think they're less likely to interrupt me if I am far away. I get a couple casts off. I've got tons of Insanity. The Shaman has just walled. Let's also take note of my positioning. So the healer's over here. All I want to do is drag him in the open. I want to make these guys in a spot where they can actually die. I don't ever really want to push up for CC. Like, I'm gonna be able to CC him no matter what. If they're standing on me, I should be able to CC the healer. Just tanking kicks with my familiar predicaments. But look, now I put up Damnation, reapply my dots to both of them. I'm gonna go Void Form here and just stack my Devouring Plagues. Do as much damage as you can with instant cast. Void Bolt, Shadow Crash, DP, Void Bolt, almost Shadow or Death. Not close enough. Now I'm going to start attacking this healer because he has sack up, and it's going to redirect the Shaman's dots onto the Paladin. So if I get more dots onto the Paladin, it's like he has 2 sets of dots. The dots from the Shaman are hitting him and the Paladin. So I've realized my errors. I'm going to start running away from the Paladin again. There's Doom Winds. I think we're going to call for an Earthen Totem in a second. Yep, I run back into the Earthen Totem. That was my Fade on his Spear. So I'm going to be taking a lot less damage in this Earthen, feeling pretty safe with that. Trade on cooldowns. It's really good to just have a plan to trade cooldowns. That way, every time you see something, you can react without having to wait until you're low HP, and then all of a sudden you're like, do I Disperse or do I Spirit Link? It's better to have like a general game plan. So every time we see Doom Winds, we're using Earthen Totem. I'm generally fading on the Spear. Obviously, that's not going to work against Condemn Warriors. Times you'll look to fade probably when your healer gets CC'd. Like right here, he gets put into a Warrior Fear. Number 1 priority would be to also stop Hex. Since I don't have another Fear on my team, it's going to be useless for me to try to Fear the Pally unless he's like stacked on us and we can cross CC the Shaman. So I can generally use Fear to peel the Shaman and to stop Hex. Right there, that wasn't a great use of Fear, but I did it anyways. I'm also going to pause and talk about just how ridiculous it is that this team has so many different ways to counter mind games. So they have Intervene, Reflect, which is Overwatch. They have 2 kicks. They also have AoE Spell Reflect, which I think this warrior is playing, but just didn't use it there. And they also have Grounding Totem. So that is how many things? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things you have to be aware of before you can actually let your mind games casts go off. You don't ever want to mind games yourself, and you don't ever want to do it into Grounding Totem because it won't have any utility. It's best to literally not even try to do it unless those things are already down. Like, I think they're passively going to be using those buttons. The Shaman is going to be trying to share your healer. The warrior is going to be trying to kick you, and eventually you can stun the Shaman so that he can't ground anyways. If you have the opportunity playing with another DPS, anytime you see that the warrior is CC'd and you can land a stun on the Shaman, you can send a mind games. Whenever they're CC'd, they can't press any of those buttons. That's generally like what I'm looking to do against this team. If my DH ever gets a double stun, like right now, if I had mind games up, I could have just mind games the Shaman and potentially killed him. We're doing a really great job living. I think I feel pretty safe right now. My Shaman still has Trinket and Link. My Disperse will rotate back in about 30 seconds. And this is all because we are reacting to their cooldowns with our cooldowns, where we have a plan ahead of time. When we see Doom Winds, we press this. There's Doom Winds. I door Shadows away. I'm pretty far. Hopefully, oh, he did put the Earthen down. Now I gotta go rock back into the Earthen. That's kind of awkward. But as soon as I get into that Earthen, you can just tell my HP is gonna kind of stabilize. I'm gonna be getting hit a lot less hard. As soon as you have damage, good to just send that CC. Mind games that guy while he has no Intervene. The Shaman can't shear ground while he's stunned. Really good plays from us there. We do a lot of damage, but end up not killing him. We're still kind of working this Pally's mana bar, though. If it comes down to it, we might be able to win on mana if we just keep surviving and surviving. I fade on the spear again. I start spam healing my DH because I think they've given up on killing me at this point. My Disperse is going to be back up. We get spear linked for the DH to survive. They're still just tunneling the DH, so as soon as they're off of me, I can really start to rip some damage and start free casting once my DH is above 50%. Something I forgot to mention earlier is you should always be looking to purge Bloodlust. If they're good, they're generally going to stun you and do it, but even out of that stun, if you can throw a purge and luckily get it off of one of them, that would be huge. Also, you want to try to notice when the warrior is popping Avatar. That's when you're going to take a lot of damage. Very likely that a Disperse or Fade is in your future when the warrior is popping all his cooldowns. There's the Doom Winds, huge weak aura on my screen. I literally can't miss it. I have Earthen Wall on me, and look, I don't actually die here. Like, we're able to pump the Shaman absolutely. We get Trinket Sack from the Paladin on their own go, because Earthen is just an absolute boss against this. And I think that this is actually the most important tip of the video. Like, a lot of Shamans that I played with, I've been telling them about this, and they've really underestimated how good Earthen is into that specific ability. That's not that good into Warriors, because Warriors are just condemning you for like 13k over and over again, and 300 damage of a 13k hit doesn't do much, but when all their attacks are little and small, it really does add a ton of value. So here's the spear. Since my Shaman has no mana, I just fade and run away. Fade makes it so you can't get sucked back. I think at this point they are not going to commit to killing me because I have Disperse and my DH doesn't really have many cooldowns, so they're kind of going to just train him. We can support our teammates with Life Grip. He ends up trinketing and blurring anyways. But still, good to be aware of what buttons you can use to help your teammates. The warrior's in battle stance, so we should be dotting him at all times. I definitely want to be sending Shadow Crash off cooldown. I probably should have just pressed it like 5 seconds ago. It's been off cooldown for a while. I think this is a huge issue I have where I'm just not using my Shadow Crash when it's a really great way to deal effective DPS. 2 people are stacked up together. Hits very hard. I still haven't pressed it. I'm actually really tilted watching this. There's the Shadow Crash. I might even miss it there. Let's see. Yep, I don't think that hit him, to be honest. We fear the Paladin away from Tremor range. He gets it off kind of late. Unfortunate. I think we were able to just win at this point on mana. I think I remember this game. I think my Demon Hunter is actually about to die, but I'm so confident that we can kill this guy that I tell my Shaman to keep playing, and fast forward a couple minutes and we end up beating these guys in 2s. But pause this video for a second, or just stop looking at the gameplay. Look at the damage, right? we won this game because Spooky Man was MVP and did the most damage in the arena. Now, you can't beat a Turbo Cleave if you're playing too defensive and you're, just spamming Shadow Mend on yourself or whatever. Like, you're going to lose. If you're doing less damage than the Enhanced Shaman, you're going to lose by default. You need to out-pressure them to beat them. If you could force them to run away and heal, it really relieves the pressure off of your healer, and it's going to enable you to actually have, it sounds dumb, but having pressure makes it easier to have pressure, because if they're running away, they have distance from you, you can, spam damage from afar and really get your dots rolling. I think it's hard to sit there and kind of just tank interrupts, but when you're playing Driven to Madness, it is going to really help a ton with the interrupts if you can cycle through like the shear and the pummel right away. Then you go into void form. You can just start doing max damage, void bolt off cooldown, shadow crash off cooldown. There we go, Spooky Man. There's the shadow crash. That's what we wanted to see. We're always going to look to do damage with instant cast, and when we don't have really a good window to cast, just clean their buffs off, make it so you can easily purge that bloodlust. It is a minute cooldown. You can track that on Omnibar, or you can track it with any other add-on, I suppose, and you can kind of tell when they're about to do it. If they don't have any buffs, clean them off, instantly purge it, and it'll stop their pressure a lot. Do whatever you can to CC Doom wins for sure, and that'll help out a lot in terms of surviving. We'll spend the last part of this video talking about setting up kills and maybe creating windows to mind games. Oh, so one thing that's important to understand is that enhanced shamans are only really going to die while they're stunned. And if you're playing a comp that has multiple stuns, generally good idea to have you stun the healer, your DPS stuns the shaman, because that's when they're going to connect, and then your healer can stun the warrior, and that'll make it so that you can't get reflected on your mind games. The issue that happened there was that the shaman trinketed and grounded, which is totally fine. Like, it's hard to predict that he's going to do that, so it's okay if he trades trinket and grounding for your mind games. Next time we will be looking to do something. This guy's Doomwind's up, so again, we're being super careful. We didn't figure out the Earthern strat. This is like, I think, almost a week ago, so we didn't know that Earthern was OP into Doomwinds. So next time we queue, we'll do that. We are playing against our Resto Druid, which is going to make it about 100 times easier. Holy Pallies are just so annoying for Shadow Priest, and I'm really looking forward to that Shadow Res Aura change on Tuesday. So it's going to be a lot easier for us to score a kill against this team. We probably won't have to dampen them as hard. I think we can just kill through the Druid's healing, to be fair. So we get a double stun here. That enables me to get mind games, and boom, he dies. So maybe we can rewind that very quick. The only time the shaman is going to die is in a stun. Just remember that. He can always heal himself or save himself when he's out of the stun. So this is the one window where we can actually kill them. I know that I can get the mind games here because the warrior was stunned, and I think he trinkets to rally, but since my mind games goes off and the hunt goes off at the same time, we get the kill. It really had to be like trinket and AoE reflect from the warrior, but who knows if he's even playing it. So that game, very fluky, not always going to win like that, but still good to keep in mind that the shaman is only going to die when he is in a stun. Let's see if we can find another turbo. Even if we can just look at mistakes here, it's probably fine. I get the mind games off while he's stunned. Again, shaman can only die while he's in a stun. I'm, again, positioned very far away from the paladin. We want to make it as awkward as possible for these guys to hit me. And I'm also going to look to cleave anybody. Like, I should be doing damage to both the warrior and the shaman at all times. I need to do more damage than them if I want to win. We force sack, so I'm instantly going to start focusing the rest of my damage onto the warrior. Tried to dot the pally if I could. Doesn't look like I can. Trying to keep all my dots up. Void form off cooldown. Void form's over. I should have used this double stun to reapply my dots, but I'm so scared that I'm spamming Shadow Mends. We get shear out of the way. I door shadows far away. Always trying to kite away from the healer. And again, when we get those stuns, we'll be looking to set up the mind games again on the shaman. Fairly certain that we don't win this match, given looking at how it's going. We forced a lot, I guess. We've already forced sack. We still need to force bubble, but it's a little sketchy. Another piece of advice that I did want to talk about is anytime you get both kicks out of the way, you can just immediately door shadows away. So I'm going to get both kicks here, and then I'm going to door shadows as far away, create some distance, and look how much pressure we're about to get off this. I get a mind games off because of it. kind of catch them off guard. We get sack from the paladin, trinket from the paladin. We start cranking tons of pressure. I immediately should have started running away again, and I kind of realized that when I get too close to the pally, I need to be further away. Trinket and Fade adjust the positioning on their Bloodlust kill attempt. My DH has Darkness for me next, and we're communicating that in advance. There's Ascendance, we trade Darkness. They're both 3-minute cooldowns. It's good to just trade stuff like scripted like that. That way you're not overreacting or overlapping cooldowns. I get so low that I have to disperse through the Darkness, I guess. Anytime you disperse or fade, use it to readjust your positioning, run away from them, make their healer in a bad position. If you're playing a caster comp, your other caster can just like abuse the Holy Paladin, but since we're playing DH Spriest for some reason, getting the healer in the open doesn't do too much other than make it harder for the DPS to connect to me. Hard fought game here. Like, we survived really well. We forced every cooldown besides bubble, but we just couldn't get it in the end. If they fucked up a little bit more, or maybe if we rotated our defensives a little bit better, we definitely could have won. Like, that was a close game, and didn't even feel bad losing that one because we fought so hard and really tried to win. Alright guys, before the end of the video, I just want to thank everybody for watching. I hope that some of these tips were helpful. I know that it's an uphill battle, but if you can start trading your cooldowns better and maybe being really communicative with what you have. I'm always telling my healer, and I have Fade, I have Disperse, I have this, I have that. We're always in constant communication, and generally I'm going to use Fade before I Disperse if I'm high HP. I'm also going to use my cooldowns before my Shaman uses like Trinket and Spirit Link on me. We always want to be in communication with our healer and set up those kills. And be very careful of those grinding totems. I almost mind games grinding right there, and because I didn't, we're able to set up this double stun, kaboom, mind games, and he dies. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope that something here helped you. Even if you just learned that Earthen Wall is OP against Doomwinds, that should be enough. Make sure to follow this stream at twitch.tv/stopsp right here. That's where I'm taking all these videos from. I'm going through my my videos for like the last week or so, just trying to see what matches we had against Turbo, and I was able to find a couple. So if you need videos to look over, those are there for sure. Thanks so much for the support, and we'll definitely be making some more videos in the next couple days.